I missed my flight by 6 minutes, which felt less like bad timing and more like fate tapping its finger on my chest. The departure board blinked once, then refreshed, and just like that my gate number vanished. People rushed past me with purpose, boarding passes clenched like proof they belonged somewhere. I didn't. My suitcase stood upright beside me, obedient and useless, while the airport continued breathing, announcements echoing, wheels clicking, coffee machines hissing like nothing had gone wrong. I sank onto a cold bench near the exit, anger and disbelief wrestling in my stomach. I should have left earlier. I should have checked traffic. I should have been faster. The list of shoulds grew louder than the terminal itself. That's when I noticed her. She stood near the sliding glass doors, just beyond the invisible line where warmth gave way to night air. She wasn't begging. She wasn't pacing. She was still, unnervingly still, rocking a baby wrapped in a thin blanket that had clearly seen too many winters. At first, I only noticed the contrast, the chaos behind me, the quiet around her. Then I noticed her face. There was something striking about it, not flawless, not made up, but composed in a way that felt intentional. Like she had chosen calm because panic had failed her too many times. Her hair was pulled back messily, her cheeks hollowed by exhaustion, but her eyes were clear. Alert. Watching. Everyone else looked away. I didn't. I don't know what pulled me to my feet. Guilt, maybe, or the strange emptiness that comes when plans collapse and you're suddenly untethered. Whatever it was, my legs moved before my thoughts caught up. Up close, the baby was asleep, chest rising gently. The woman shifted her weight slightly, protective but not defensive. When she spoke, her voice surprised me. "You missed something," she said. I nodded. "My flight," she gave a faint smile like she already knew, "happens when you're meant to stay." That should have sounded ridiculous. It didn't. We stood there in silence while travelers streamed past us. The sliding doors opened and closed again and again, each time letting in a slice of cold air that brushed my skin like a warning. My fingers closed around the key in my pocket. It was heavy for such a small thing. Brass. Scratched. Familiar. The key to my apartment a few miles away, empty, warm, and waiting for no one. I thought of the baby, the night, the temperature dropping. I pulled the key out before fear could stop me. "You can stay there," I said quickly, as if speed would make this rational. "Just for the night." She stared at the key without touching it. Then she looked at me, really looked at me, and her voice lowered. "Once you hand that over," she said, "you won't get your life back the same way." I laughed softly. "It's just a key." Her eyes darkened not with anger but certainty. "No," she said. "It's an invitation." And suddenly, I wasn't sure whether I was offering shelter or surrendering something I hadn't yet realized was mine to lose. I hesitated longer than I should have. The key rested in my open palm, glinting under the harsh airport lights. People brushed past us, coats swaying, conversations dissolving into noise. No one slowed down. No one questioned what I was about to do. That somehow made it feel more dangerous. Finally, she reached out. Her fingers were cold when they closed around the key, steady, deliberate, not desperate, not grateful in the way people expect. She folded it into her coat pocket like it belonged there. "Thank you," she said, but her tone carried no relief. I told myself I'd find a hotel. I told myself I could cancel my trip entirely. I told myself this was temporary, harmless, even noble. She didn't ask my name. I didn't ask hers. When I turned away, the doors swallowed me back into warmth, and the world resumed its normal rhythm as if nothing extraordinary had happened. But I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted. That night, I booked the cheapest room I could find near the airport. The bed smelled faintly of bleach and old perfume. Sleep came in fragments. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw the woman's face, not tired, not thankful, but knowing. As if she'd accepted a responsibility I didn't understand. Just before dawn, my phone buzzed. Unknown number. I stared at the screen for a long time before answering. "You should come home," her voice said. My throat tightened. "How did you get my number?" A pause, then softly, the apartment answered. I sat up so fast the sheets tangled around my legs. "That's not funny." "I'm not laughing," she replied. "The baby's awake and someone else is here." The line went dead. I didn't think. I dressed and left. The city felt unfamiliar in the early morning, streets too quiet, lights too dim. Every step closer to my building felt heavier, like gravity itself was changing its mind. The front door was unlocked. Inside, the air was warmer than it should have been, scented faintly with something herbal, something old. The living room light was on. My couch was occupied by the woman, gently bouncing the baby on her knee, and someone else. A man stood near the window, his reflection warped in the glass. He turned slowly when he heard me enter. I didn't recognize him, but the apartment did. The walls hummed, low and almost imperceptible, like a breath being held. The woman met my eyes, calm as ever. "I told you," she said, "keys don't just open doors." The man smiled. "And now," he said, "we need to talk about what you let in." The man by the window didn't move toward me. He didn't need to. The apartment felt different now, thicker somehow, like the air had learned how to listen. I stood just inside the doorway, keys missing from my pocket, pulse knocking hard enough to hurt. "Who are you?" I asked. He smiled again, but it never reached his eyes. "I'm a consequence." The woman shifted the baby higher on her shoulder. The child was awake now, eyes wide and unnaturally focused, staring past me at the door I'd just walked through. There was no crying, no fussing, just watching. "I didn't invite anyone else," I said, my voice sharper than I felt. She shook her head gently. "You invited shelter. Shelter attracts things." The man turned from the window and ran a hand along the wall, fingertips brushing the paint like he was reading Braille. "This place," he murmured, "has been empty of meaning for a long time." "That's not true," I snapped. "This is my home." He laughed quietly. "You sleep here, that's different." I wanted to tell them both to leave. I wanted to grab the baby, call the police, undo the last 12 hours. But my body refused to move. The hum in the walls grew louder, vibrating through my bones. I realized with a chill that the sound matched my heartbeat. The woman finally stood. Up close, I saw how exhausted she really was, not just physically, but deeply, like someone who had been awake for years. "We don't stay long," she said. "We never do." "Then why are you here?" I demanded. She looked down at the baby. "Because he needs a name." The man's smile vanished. "No," he said flatly, "he needs a door." The lights flickered. I stumbled backward, knocking into the doorframe. "You need to leave." Now, the woman met my gaze, something like regret softening her features. "If we leave without finishing, this place won't be safe anymore. Not for you, not for anyone who comes after." I laughed, panicked. "You're talking like this apartment is alive." "It is," the man replied. "It wakes up when someone gives without understanding the cost." The baby suddenly reached out, tiny fingers stretching toward me. The air went cold. The hum stopped. In that silence, I understood something terrifying. This wasn't about charity or kindness or bad timing. This was about exchange. "What did I give?" I whispered. The woman didn't answer. The man stepped closer for the first time, his shadow bending strangely along the wall. "That," he said, "is what we're here to decide." And behind me, the door clicked softly, locking itself. The lock sliding into place sounded final, like punctuation at the end of a sentence I hadn't known I was writing. I rushed the door anyway, rattling the handle, pressing my weight against it. Solid, unmoving. The apartment didn't resist me, it simply refused. Behind me, neither of them spoke. That silence felt intentional, like they were giving the space-time to teach me something. "You said you wouldn't stay long," I said without turning around. "We won't," the woman replied. "But time doesn't move the same way once you offer it shelter." I faced them slowly. The man had stepped away from the window and now stood near the hallway, blocking the path to the bedroom. He wasn't large, but something about him made the space feel smaller, tighter, as if he'd brought his own gravity. "What do you want?" I asked. The baby gurgled softly, the sound echoing just a fraction too long. The woman sighed. "This place needs balance. You opened it without asking what it already held." "I didn't open anything," I said. "I gave you a key." The man's lips twitched. "Keys are questions, doors are answers." He gestured around the apartment. "This home remembers everyone who ever wanted something from it. Lovers, tenants, neighbors, people who stayed too long. People who left too quickly." I felt a sudden pressure behind my eyes, memories rising uninvited. Late nights alone. Arguments that ended in silence. Mornings where I avoided my own reflection in the bathroom mirror. "How do you know all this?" I whispered. The woman shifted the baby again. "Because he listens." The child's gaze snapped to me. For the first time, he smiled. The lights dimmed, then steadied. I realized the apartment was responding, not to fear, but to attention. What are the terms? I asked quietly. The man nodded approvingly. Smart question. You gave shelter, the woman said. In return, the apartment asks for witness. Witness to what? To truth, she answered. Yours. The floor creaked beneath my feet, though I hadn't moved. The walls seemed closer now, as if leaning in. You can refuse, the man added. But refusal doesn't restore what's been opened. It only decides who pays. My chest tightened. And the baby? The woman's expression softened. He is what happens when someone gives without being seen. If he's named here, he stays real. And if he isn't, the man's voice dropped, then he becomes part of the house. A sharp cry escaped the baby's mouth, brief, piercing, then gone. The sound reverberated through the apartment like a warning bell. I swallowed hard. What happens to me? The woman met my eyes, sorrow and resolve tangled together. That depends on whether you stay honest or hide. The hallway light flickered, illuminating the bedroom door as it slowly creaked open on its own. The apartment was ready, and somehow I knew it was my turn to step inside. The bedroom had never felt large before. A bed, a dresser, a single window facing an alley. Ordinary, safe. Now it looked deeper than it should have been, shadows stretching where walls ought to end. I don't want to do this, I said, though my feet were already moving. You already are, the man replied. The woman stayed in the living room, rocking the baby as if distance mattered. The child watched me go, eyes reflecting the hallway light like glass. Each step into the bedroom felt heavier, like wading into unseen water. The air smelled faintly of dust and something metallic, old, forgotten. The moment I crossed the threshold, the door shut behind me with a muted click. Not locked. Waiting, the room exhaled. The walls rippled, not visibly, but perceptibly, like memory passing through flesh. My reflection in the mirror blurred, then sharpened, then shifted again. I saw myself standing there, and also sitting on the edge of the bed years ago, phone in hand, waiting for a message that never came. No, I whispered. The room didn't argue. Voices surfaced, arguments I'd abandoned, apologies I'd rehearsed but never spoken. Moments where I'd chosen silence because it was easier than honesty. The bed creaked under invisible weight, as if someone else had just sat down. Witness, the woman's voice echoed faintly from the other room. My chest tightened. I don't understand what this has to do with them. The man's voice came from nowhere and everywhere. You offered shelter because you know what it is to be unseen. The mirror shimmered again, showing a version of me I barely recognized, eyes dull, posture folded inward. A person who had learned to disappear quietly. That's not fair, I said. No, he agreed. It's true. The walls pulsed. The hum returned, slower now, steadier. I felt something loosen inside me, a knot I hadn't realized I'd been carrying. Regret rose like bile. I left, I said aloud, unsure who I was confessing to. I always leave before I'm asked to stay. The room stilled. In the silence, the baby cried again, longer this time. The sound cut through the walls, threading itself into my ribs. The door behind me creaked open. The woman stood there now, the baby against her shoulder. Up close, I saw something new in her eyes, hope, fragile and dangerous. He's fading, she said. This house needs you to finish. Finish what? I asked, voice breaking. Name what you ran from, she said softly, so he doesn't have to. The mirror darkened, reflecting only my eyes. In them, I saw the truth I'd avoided for years. And as the baby's cry softened into a breath, I realized the apartment wasn't asking for punishment. It was asking for ownership. Of my choices, of my silence, of the key I had given away long before that night. My mouth opened, but nothing came out. The apartment waited. It didn't rush me. That was the worst part. The walls no longer hummed, they listened. The mirror held my gaze steady now, no longer shifting, no longer offering distractions. Just me, unfiltered, unguarded. I don't know how, I said finally. I don't know what name you want. The woman stepped fully into the room. The baby had gone quiet, his small hand curled into the fabric of her coat like he was anchoring himself to the world. Not a name like a label, she said. A name like a truth. The man appeared in the doorway behind her, though I hadn't heard him move. Say the thing you refuse to admit, he added. That's how doors close properly. My pulse thudded in my ears. I thought of all the moments that led here, missed connections, delayed departures, the habit of keeping exits within reach. I had always told myself it was independence. Freedom, the mirror disagreed. I was afraid, I said. The word felt small for how much it carried. The baby inhaled sharply. Of what? The man asked. Of staying, I replied. Of being needed. Of being seen long enough to fail someone. The room reacted immediately. The air warmed. The shadows pulled back just a little, like they'd been waiting for permission. The woman's shoulders sagged, relief passing through her like a tide. Say it again, she whispered. I leave, I said, voice steadier now, before people can choose whether I'm worth keeping. The baby exhaled, a soft sound like a sigh. The man nodded once. There it is. The mirror finally changed, not into a memory, but a possibility. I saw myself opening doors instead of closing them, sitting through discomfort, staying after the silence. The woman lifted the baby higher. He can hold that now, she said, so you don't have to. Hold what? I asked. The echo, she replied, the part of you that never learned how to stay. The baby looked directly at me. For the first time, his eyes looked ordinary. Human, he smiled wide and unmistakably real. The apartment shuddered, then settled like a long breath finally released. The man stepped back. The exchange is complete. What happens now? I asked. The woman reached into her coat and pulled out the key. She placed it back into my palm. It was never about keeping it, she said, only about whether you'd follow it. The front door unlocked with a gentle click. The walls fell silent. As they walked toward the exit, the woman paused and turned back. You might see him again, she said, if you forget. The door closed behind them. I stood alone in my apartment, key warm in my hand, heart pounding, not with fear this time, but with something far more dangerous. Resolve. And somewhere deep in the walls, something shifted, as if the house was making room for what came next. The apartment felt larger after they left. Not emptier, lighter. As if something heavy had been carried out in small, careful hands. I stood in the living room for a long time, listening to the ordinary sounds return. The distant hum of traffic, the refrigerator clicking on, the soft tick of the clock I'd never bothered to set correctly. Everything looked the same. Nothing was. I half expected the walls to speak again. They didn't. That silence felt earned, like trust. I sat on the couch where the woman had been moments earlier. The cushion was still warm. For the first time in years, I didn't reach for my phone. Days passed. I didn't cancel my trip. I didn't rebook it either. I stayed. I went to work. I came home on time. I cooked meals instead of ordering food meant for one. Each choice felt small but deliberate, like placing weight on a healing bone. The apartment watched quietly. At night, I dreamed of hallways that didn't stretch endlessly away from me anymore. Doors appeared where there had only been walls. Sometimes I dreamed of the baby, not crying, not smiling, just breathing, steady and real. On the fourth night, there was a knock, 3 soft taps. My heart stuttered, but my feet moved without hesitation. When I opened the door, no one stood there. Just a folded blanket on the floor, the same faded gray I remembered. I brought it inside. That night the hum returned briefly, not loud, not demanding, more like acknowledgement. Weeks went by, then months. I stopped choosing exits first. I let conversations linger. I stayed when things became uncomfortable. Some people left anyway. That hurt, but it didn't hollow me out the way it once would have. The apartment remained still, almost content. Until one evening, as I locked the door behind me, I noticed something etched into the brass plate beneath the handle. A word, stay. My chest tightened, not with fear but recognition. Behind me, the hallway light flickered, and for just a moment, reflected faintly in the darkened window, I saw the woman standing at the end of the hall, empty arms this time, her expression peaceful. She nodded once. Then she was gone. The apartment sighed softly, like a promise kept. But as I turned away, I realized something chilling. Not every door I'd opened in my life had closed as cleanly as this one. And somewhere out there, another key was waiting to be given. I thought the story ended with me. That was my mistake. The apartment never asked for permanence, only honesty. Once that was given, it went quiet, like an old guardian returning to sleep. Life continued in ordinary ways: work deadlines, shared meals, arguments that didn't end in walking away. I stayed. I learned how. And for a long time, nothing else happened, until the key began to change. At first, it was subtle, warmer in my palm, heavier though it hadn't gained weight. The scratches along its edge softened, as if smoothed by hands that weren't mine. I told myself it was imagination. I told myself I was done with thresholds. Then one evening, at a crowded bus terminal, I saw her. Not the woman, but someone like her. She stood near the exit, holding a child bundled against the cold. No sign, no asking, just waiting. People passed without looking. The scene hit me so hard I had to sit down. The key burned in my pocket. I understood then what the apartment had done. It hadn't taken my fear, it had taught me how to recognize it. I didn't approach right away. I watched. I remembered the weight of choice, the cost of shelter, the truth of exchange. Finally, I stood. When the woman noticed me, her eyes widened, not with hope, not with need, but with the same knowing I remembered. The kind that sees the question before it's asked. I held out the key. Her gaze dropped to it, then rose to meet mine. "Once you give that away," she said quietly, "you don't get to pretend." I smiled, not nervously, not afraid. "I know," I said. Her fingers closed around the brass. Somewhere far away, I felt a door close gently. Not in my apartment, but inside me. As I turned to leave, lighter than I'd ever been, I realized the truth I'd missed from the beginning. We are not the houses. We are the thresholds. And every time we choose to stay, with ourselves, with others, we become a place where something lost can safely arrive. The terminal hummed on. Life continued. And the key, warm in someone else's hand, waited for the next door that needed to remember how to open.